Okay, so that's going. So let's bring up this. So that's not what I want. This is what I want. Okay, and I'm going to maximize. So I am in Canvas under Files. I want to show you, I made, I want you to make your own Python or show tracker, but I have my version of it here, and I think if we run the queries, it might be easier to do it my version. A couple of you did, I don't know if it's this class or the next, did turn in a copy of mine, basically as a structure. That's okay, it was there. I didn't announce it, but yeah. All right. So I'm gonna. It's basically under Files in Canvas, and it's show tracker JSON text. And I'll show you what it is. And I'm not positive. Some of what you guys did is just as good or better, just to let you know. So this is, I made a venue collection, and I did this, and I just did, I actually used a word for the ID, which you can do. It'll let you do anything for an ID as long as you set it, right? What it'll do is it'll just give you that big number. And I did fans and shows and artists. And down below I have some sample queries, which I may come back to if I forget how to do these. So I'm going to make this, I might call it Show Tracker 2 or something if you have your own Show Tracker, right? So you don't mess it up. And you don't have to do this. One of the things that I said, when some of you combine most of these into like one, right? And that, when I think about it, that makes a certain amount of sense, right? Just doing one big one that has, although I do think you'd have to do the fans separately, right? Their registration and what artists they want to follow. But putting the show, I mean, the venues and then all the shows that go to that venue and what artists are with that, I could see where that could all be one big JSON text. It'd be a little bit more complicated, be a little harder to query, but you would only be dealing with one, collection. One of the things I want to do, and you can maybe do it on your own, is research what are best practices for NoSQL, design, because I'm not sure. My instincts are very relational. So my instincts were to break it up into separate groups. But if you have fewer groups or you broke it up differently, that's fine. Does that make sense? All right. So the other thing I want to show you, so I think I have to zoom for this. I might zoom this one down because I'm going to zoom the other up. So I'm going to go here to the File Explorer. And I just wanted to show you there's a better way to open these, or an easier way to open it. So I'm going to go to C drive, Program Files, MongoDB, Server, 3.4, bin. Same path we've always done. And I should have known we could do this anyway. I'm just going to double click MongoD. Yeah, and it makes it a lot easier than typing the path in. So now it's listening. And I'm going to go back and do Mongo, and it will launch. That makes it a lot easier than typing in the path, although you can type in the path. Do you want me to do that again?
Yes, please.
All right, so we go exactly to the same place where the path was. So I'm going to close both of these. So I go to, let's go all the way out. I go to C drive, so local disk C, program files. This is exactly what we typed in as the path. MongoDB server 3.4 bin. Remember typing that path? You know, that's exactly the same path. Inside of this, you have two executables. You have the MongoD and the Mongo. That's what we would type next. Mongo, press enter, it would execute it. So you can also just double click it and then come back and do Mongo. So it's just a faster way to do it. Yes. And if you wanted to, if you were using it a lot, you could make a shortcut to those executables to the desktop, right? So. All right. So are we ready for the, I'm going to create the show tracker. We'll call it show tracker 2 or B or C, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to say use show tracker, and I'll just say 2. All right, so that creates the database. I am going to say db venues dot insert. And what I'm going to do, I don't know if I can do it directly from Canvas. I don't want to log into Canvas. Where was my Canvas? There it is, files. It really looks ugly there. I'm going to go minus again. I'm going to, I put in the brackets. I'm going to go from to the, try to capture from square bracket to square bracket. This may not work. We may need to put it into download it. Do it directly from Notepad. So I'm going to copy it and see if it works. So I need to go. It's interesting now they have an icon. Okay. So I'm going to right click. Seems to have worked. If I don't get any, no, so it's getting query errors all the way down. So that's not going to work. Is there a clear inside of, I know there's a clear for the window, but a clear inside of the Mongo shell? What? CLS. There we go. Don't have to do that. I just didn't want all that clutter there. All right, so let's go to, not that. Log into Canvas files. So that didn't work, so let's download it. Oh, I'm going to unzoom. So I'm going to download the file. It's just db venues insert, but it wouldn't work from. It didn't work from the from inside of Canvas. So it should be open there behind Notepad here. The other thing that I want to do, let's just see. It would be nice if I don't have to. Going to set the properties, try to set the font. It says it's a 24. Let's see how big this is. So I think I'm still in. I'm going to do db venues dot insert without the parentheses. And I'm going to go from parentheses to parentheses. I did Control C. Going to paste. Okay, I don't have all the errors showing up. If I press Enter, it did write for venues. Do you want to see that whole thing again? Or did you guys get it? Whole thing again? All right, so let's do a whole bunch of, so I'm going to do a bit of I'm going to have a lot of garbage in my NoSQL, but that's all right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use show tracker 3. All right, so now we're in show tracker 3. So this is the same thing again. So then I'm going to DB is always the current context. So that's show tracker 3. DB dot venues, because that's what I'm naming the collection, dot insert. All right, and I'm not putting any parentheses or anything there because I have them in my text file. So I'm just going to highlight from opening parentheses to closing parentheses. All right, so they're all, there's 4 of them there. Notice it has parentheses, square bracket, then it has the curly brace for each record, and then it has the square brackets. We'll look at these in a moment, and then it closes the parentheses. So that's sort of the syntax when you're inserting multiples at once. So I copy this, I come here and I right click, it puts in all of that. Oh, that's hard to read. Can you guys see it at all? I tried. What I will do is it just makes everything difficult, but I'll zoom.
Thanks. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
It's hard to see from it.
Yeah, well, I changed the font, but it didn't change. And I don't know why that is. Yeah. I would downloaded it and did it from the notepad. What happens in the canvas is it word wraps. That word wrap is treated as a character and it gives it a bunch of errors.
Oh, so if you copied it from...
So in the notepad, if you put it in notepad, one of the things in notepad is you don't want the word wrap on.
So if you copy it from like Canvas to Notepad?
You could, but what I did is I just downloaded it. Right, so if you go back, so this is the notepad that I downloaded. Did I close? So again, everything is gigantic here.
Where's that? Where's that?
It's in files.
Okay.
And then what I did is I clicked download. It's for files. So let's go back. Yeah, I know no, that's not what I want. Just want to go back to files. So yeah, let me close. Boy, this is hard to navigate zoomed. Maybe, but it just went back to
What are you trying to get to?
files. I just wanted to show you where it was in files.
Outside of the... Yeah, right there.
There it is, close. So the file that I used was simple JSON text. You don't have to open it in Canvas. It's probably better just to download it. Okay, which I think you can do once you've selected it. There's a download right there. Oh, I'm using show tracker. I am show tracker JSON text. What one did I do? Isn't that what's So I may have hit the sample, but it's show tracker JSON text. All right, so anyway, I downloaded it. And then we have in here, I did use show tracker 3. If you have another show tracker, you can do show tracker 2 or, you know, B, whatever you want. I just wanted you not to overwrite your own show tracker.
Could you do a find for us?
A what?
Could you do a find from here now? Afterwards?
Sure. So I have to press enter. All right, so when I do enter, it writes them. And then if I do db dot venues dot find, and then I'm actually going to do pretty. Have you guys seen this? It puts the things in what they consider a prettier format. So I have from the top of that, right? I have Jazz Alley. And this has a little array of jazz and blues. It has that. Then there's a comment, which it doesn't do music anymore, I guess. And arena, and then the Paramount. I didn't worry about the actual address for most of them or any of that. So mine is simpler than some of yours, but as I said, yours is often just as good. So do I need a let's go from ground zero and go up again and make a show tracker 4? Go through those steps again? Are you guys okay with it? No comments for the most part? Good, good.
I keep getting that syntax there.
Yeah, just a
Oh, not.
Because it's like a I have to go to my computer to do that. All right, so everybody's sort of okay?
It's also recorded on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I'm recording it
Yeah.
and I will post. What?
It's on the Canvas page, on the syllabus page, and then there's a YouTube link.
Yeah, and it's filtered to a playlist that's specific to the class.
Yeah. Thanks for that, by the way.
Oh, I will. So watch for now, and then I'll help you catch up. Anyone else having problems? Just general.
I have lost my downhill. The show
Yeah.
tracker thing.
Huh.
Had it up in there.
Did you accidentally download it to the outside? You can probably copy it in, or you can copy and paste between them. Yeah.
So is that what I did?
Yeah, you did it outside the copy then.
Okay.
Did you get it? What was the syntax there? One more thing, and then we'll go on to the next So I was just making, so one of the components download that. Yes. So what we're going to do, I was going to create a secondary one. That we can use for this. So, like this is show tracker 2, just so it doesn't get messed up with the show tracker. So anyway, basically all I'm doing here is we're pasting in my database for queries testing, but you could also run these queries on your database if you have. It's just that I think it'll be, you might not have everything in it that that was there. So these were the venues. So I want to copy the fans. Whoa. So this is hard to do in Zoom. All right, so there's that. I want to go from there, parentheses to parentheses. I'm going to copy. Then here I'm going to do db.fans.insert. And then I can right click and it'll have all the fans there. And if I press enter, it says that it inserted 6. Yeah. So, so this is a brand new database. So just do DB. I actually say use shift right. We're just going to change it. Actually, just use this. DB actually is DB. And I just did the fans too. So if you do DB.fans.
So I can use the download file within the machine. And I'm trying to figure out what this one is. Well, I did, but I did on the wrong. So I took that out and tried to go in. I said, oh, I pick over here and see this. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think you can kind of so just do well. Go ahead. Yeah.
So now, here.
I will come around and help. I just wanted to get this in to do some queries. Wish there's a way just to give you a big script to run it like the SQL. I could probably do that if I wrote it in C#, but then we'd need something to execute it. So we'd have to load Visual Studio or something.
Because you're telling me which database. Three?
With the VM or the Mongo stuff? You got in? Yeah, the Microsoft, the Hyper-V virtualization at home blue screens me. Anyway, let's do. So I'm going to do DB. I'm going to do shows now. Dot shows. Dot insert. And I'm going to copy. And then what I'll do is I'll probably try to come around and help get everybody set up if you want. It's a lot of work just to have a common thing to query. All right. So, and then I have artists. And that's it, I think, right? So I just have artists left. So for each of those, basically you just go through parentheses to parentheses, copy, you paste by right-clicking, and then press enter. So I should have, I have db.venues, I'm just going to do .find. Right now I'm not going to do the pretty. db.fans.find. Didn't bring up any fans. Oh, because I did a period, a comma. Okay, db.shows.find and db.artists.find. And I think I did it artists. Yeah. And I let them have their own ID, I see. So all the data is there. And one of the things I'm going to do at the very bottom of this, at the cursor, is I'm just going to do CLS to clear it all for some queries. Yeah. Yeah, but it's not. I want to do these queries, and then I will help everybody get caught up. So you want to run there too. Going to go to C drive. MongoDB. Just say use. All right. Are we ready? Okay. So, having set this up again, you can kind of use what we're going to do is for the assignment. Basically, we just copied my MongoDB. But if you do, you want to run them on your own or try to do the queries on your own, that'd be fine too. So, first of all, I'm just going to do, you guys remember what the queries are? Let's just sort of look at the structure of it. I'm going to do DB, what do we want to look at? Fans, artists, shows. Let's do DB shows dot find. And I'm going to, I'll do dot pretty as well. So these are the shows that I have, and I'm going to scroll up. So notice I let them give the ID. So they have that long ID string. So I've got show name, artist, venue ID, date, time, tickets, and then down here we have an artist, and then we have the down here we have, this is in the arena. If we wanted to look at a particular, let's say we just wanted to find Pearl Jam. All right, they're at the Paramount supposedly. Does anybody know how you would look for just Pearl Jam in those shows? So I'm going to do db.shows.find. And I'm going to open a parentheses but not close it. No ideas?
Put the name programming.
To some extent, but first what you have to do, curly brace, all the queries are also JSON, right? So it's a curly brace for the beginning of it. And then what I'm going to do is it's called artist is the, it doesn't have to be quoted necessarily, but I'll do artist. And then colon. And then we're looking for Pearl Jam. And then I'm going to close the curly braces, and then I'll close the parentheses. So you have to say what field you're looking under and then the value that you're looking under. Does that make sense? We will refine this a little in a moment. When I press enter, maybe I should do it pretty. Yep. Why did I get an 8? 2, 28. All right, I'll just. So that's how it would look. So notice it found the right show, right? It found the program show. Now, what if you didn't want to see all of this, particularly the object ID and things? Does anybody know how to do that?
Follow it up with a comma and which fields you want to see.
Actually, that's exactly right. So what I'm doing here is I'm just highlighting this. Control C. There's a way to bring back the last command, but it wasn't doing it for me. So down here, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. You inside of the parentheses do a well, I have to use the cursor to go back there. So you do a comma, another curly brace, and then you have to say what fields you want to see and follow them with a 1. So let's do show name colon 1 comma artist. Again, you don't have to necessarily quote these, but I will. Artist colon 1. Anybody know what the 1 is? And then let's just do venue ID. Needs to be lowercase v. I'm going to do one other. I should have a colon 1. I'm going to do one other thing here where I'm going to say, and you'd want the date and everything else, but I'm just going to do those 3 just to show I can limit it to those 3. And then I'm going to do underscore ID colon 0. And the 0 means I don't want to see it. Right. So the first one is the search. The second one is basically selecting the fields. I don't know why that's blue. I'm going to get in trouble here. Oh, you haven't closed it yet. That's true. You do need to close it. Okay. So the first set of things there is the query. Oh, I have a parentheses I need to close too. An extra parentheses. Aha. There we go. Do I? It's happier now, but where's that other parentheses? Why is it? Should only be 1 parentheses. But this says that there's a,
Should we need a parenthesis after Pearl Jam?
no, no, it's just a comma.
In parentheses, you have after pretty.
What? Oh. I have two. Let's see what happens if I try to run this. It worked. Don't trust the intelligence. So notice it only showed me the fields that I want to see. The first part is the query. The second part with the ones there is basically saying what fields you want to see. Anything that's not listed with a 1 over here doesn't show up except the ID. The ID will always show up unless you explicitly say 0 there, which means false. 1 is true, 0 is false. That makes sense? Generally, when I look at it, I'd say no. So this is just like, the only addition here is that we're not looking at every field. We're only looking at the ones we want to see.
If you don't do that, we'll just put all.
What?
If you don't put that stuff.
If you don't do that, if you just do, then what you get is what you got up here. Right, everything. So I'm going to do just a find for shows again. I'm torn between clearing my screen so I have more room and leaving it so I have these to show later.
Yeah, what's on the end of this one? Venue ID.
Oh, venue, and then ID is 0. And then dot pretty. The pretty is just to make it print out like this as opposed to in one line. Okay, so there was I'll do one more of these. I won't do the select. I'm going to do shows, find. And I'm pretty sure I could get away with artist without. Let's try this. Artist. I'm going to just do Bob Dylan. And there's a reason I'm doing that. And I'll do pretty also. The reason I wanted to show you the Bob Dylan one is that notice that there's an array of artists here. There's 2 artists. It'll search through an array for you. You don't have to do anything special to look for an array. All right, so I have an array of artists. I did Bob Dylan. If I had brought Neil Young, I would have done it too. It automatically searches through arrays for you. Does that make sense? That's one reason why you can get away with an array pretty easily, because it'll search the array for a value if you're searching to match that. The hard part, so, I mean, basically every kind of search, and you can get really complicated. I'm not going to. But you can get really complicated in here, but it's always presented as a JSON object. I am going to real quickly go to the assignment and look to see what I asked for so we can do those explicitly. So huge. What artists are considered to be within a genre? And I didn't actually do a separate thing for genres. So let's real quickly, I think one of the things I want to do is maximize that. So I'm going to do db dot artist dot find. Do I want to do pretty? It's easier to read, but it takes up a lot of screen space. Ooh, I got nothing. So I bet it's artist. db dot artist dot find dot pretty. Yeah, it was in artist. So each one of them has a genre, and most of them are an array. So what do I have? I have Death Cab for Cutie, of Monsters and Men, Lord, Daughter, Metro, Pearl Jam, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, and I'm not sure who, the Roy Hargrove Quintet for Jazz. So there's a lot of alternative. Let's say we wanted to just see the alternative artists. How would you do that? db artists dot find, and we would want genres, and we would want alternative. Did I spell it with a capital? And if you wanted to limit the fields that you see, you could do a comma and do that. Let's do pretty. So I get Lord, Daughter, Metro, and Pearl Jam. They also have other, most all of them also have pop. One has rock. As other genres, but they all have the alternative. Sure.
Now, why did Pearl Jam come up twice for you? Did all the artists come up twice for you?
They only came up once for me, I think. Alternative. So we got Death Cab, Monsters and Men, Lord, Daughter, Metro, and Pearl Jam. I only got them once. You got them twice?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you would get them twice. That's interesting.
What happened? So
They printed them up twice.
So
you can share that with us.
I have seen a lot of weird things happen at these command lines, though. I've seen people paste and suddenly it pasted like 100 copies instead of one copy. I have no idea why.
There's something that's wrong with command prompt or something wrong.
Well, so we're not in the command prompt proper. We are in a client program that uses a command interface. It's a client to Mongo. It's not the command prompt proper. It's not the DOS command prompt.
Okay.
So the DOS command prompt wouldn't understand the statement at all. Right? So to get again, it's just the name of the field you're searching for, the value you're searching for. The pretty is just if you want it to look nicer when it comes up. So I'm going to go back. That was the first one. What? So what did you get? Nothing? So there could be several reasons for that. Let me come look, but the main reasons are you spelled something wrong. You have to create that. So you want to do like use is DB venues.
What you were using in the database?
Just created a whole new database in there. They got how to do that.
Dang, you're right.
It's a little wild over here. Database
Do that for each of those. This is okay.
Yeah, helps if you use the right database.
Have you figured out what's going on there? I should all be there. So do, here's, right, but I think use this. Yes, okay. Do, this database is that's fine. We'll get it all. So you have okay. The other thing, if you're getting lost, this is going less smoothly than I would like. I have the queries down here. I don't have dot pretty, but I have the actual. I have most of the queries for the thing.
So you want us to do our
So you can, if you actually just do these,
that'll be
okay.
oh,
Because it's this, it's obviously a bit difficult and new, right? But if you want to, if you feel like you want to explore, you can try to answer these questions in your database. So this was genres alternative, right? We just wanted to, the first thing was to find, choose a genre, what artists are considered to be in the, the genre. What fans follow those artists? That one was actually a hard one. And then I said, run what shows exist for those queries, for those artists, and then what are the shows for a particular venue. So this one is what fans follow those artists. And if you look at this, actually this is just fans find. So let's do that. So we just want to see what fans want alternative artists. So we can do db.fans.find. They also have genres because the fans can choose what genres. Let's just do find 0. Let's just do find. And I'll do pretty just to look at what the fan one looks like. So each fan right, can follow different artists. And they also follow different genres. Right, so I'm in there. I'm following Bob Dylan, Neil Young of Monsters and Men and Lord, and these are some groups.
Oh, but you would have had to name the fans. I don't think I did that. For the fans.
Yeah, and that's fine. As I said, there's a lot of different ways you could have
Okay.
set this up. So if I want to see which fans follow alternative, I could just do db.fans.find, curly brace again, genres, colon, alternative. And if I want, again, I could choose which fields that I want. I'm going to do pretty. So let's choose some fields just to be fancier. Let's say we only want to see their names and emails. So I'll do name colon 1, email colon 1, and I don't want to see the ID. So you always have to explicitly say no to the ID. So I'll do @ID colon 0, close the curly brace, close the parentheses. So I want to see the names and emails of all the fans that follow alternative. Yeah. Just figure out Mongo. You should still have the database. So you should have and just do and I will do dot pretty again. And so these are the people that follow, right? It has their name and their email of the people that follow alternative rock. So one of the ideas of the show tracker was that you could do a mailing list, right? For, if there was a show that was labeled alternative rock or something, you could go through and you could send an email to everybody that's interested in that kind of music, although alternative is sort of everything. And notify them of the show. Does that make sense? So we're just finding all the people, getting kind of an email list of people that are. I don't know of any way without writing programming code to remove the key value pairs. So that's the fans. Questions on that? Yeah. Any typos and it won't work. Yeah. The ID has an underscore. That's the default field. Do another. So if you, one of the things that I would suggest if you ever want to play with like Mongo is just try these on your own. Play with them, no pressure, right? Where they can go wrong. So the next thing, so we've figured out which artists, what shows exist. So let's see what shows have an alternative artist. Because I think the genres are in the show too, right? So let's go back. db.shows. First I'm going to do a .find. And I'm doing this partially because I don't remember exactly what's in there. So we have artists, but we don't actually have, or shows, we don't actually have the genre. So is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. You see that? I'm going to copy that, but then we'll talk about it. So this is basically, these are the artists that were identified as alternative. And I'm finding the shows where the artists have these. This is a built-in function, which means or. So if the value is this, or this, or this, or this, or this, right? You can also do $and. One of the reasons why I told you not to put $signs on prices, $signs are reserved for functions, the identified functions, and variables in Mongo. And actually, I think in what? Yeah, PHP as well, yes. So the $sign there, the $sign or is a built-in function that is going through this array and saying if it matches any of these values. Okay. There's also a $sign and, but that would mean it would have to match all of those values. Does that make sense? Or is any of them? You know, if one is a match, then it's good. And it would have to be all of these to be good. And that would be ampersand and. So one of the things that I want to say is that there are probably 30 or 40 built-in functions like this. You can get really sophisticated searches, right? I just want you to know that they exist. The Mongo documentation is really good. So I'm going to press enter here, and it just gave me two shows, Pearl Jam and what was the other one? Oh, Monsters and Men. Oh man, they haven't done anything in about 2 years.
Good.
You don't like them? I kind of like them, actually. Kind of just folky. What do you dislike about them? They have some stupid songs, I'll grant that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too kitschy for me. Not,
I kind of
they're
like.
they're not authentic enough in my
I kind of like their broken English songs. I mean, the way they write English is weird.
opinion.
Icelandic is the thing. So,
Right.
yeah. So I'm going to run this again, partially just to get the pretty in there. You have to Control C, that goes away, and then you can print down here. And you can always at the end of this do .pretty. Okay. So as I said, all of these queries are at the end of that same document, though they don't. None of them have the pretty on it.
Somehow I got it, so I can't get an end on that. It's just 3 dots.
So if you get the 3 dots and you can't get anything else, just close the parentheses and then maybe close it again. If it close it and press enter.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll force an error and you'll get out of there. So do you guys have any questions? As I said, we could go on for a lot. You can do these on your own, which would, I think, be more interesting than just doing it on mine. But if for the assignment, I will accept it if you just do the queries that I did. If you wanted to see all the fans that followed a particular artist, so I'm going to do db.fans.find. I think this would be the last one. So artist, I think it's artists and fan. So just me. I tried to listen to new stuff, but I have like 30 Bob Dylan albums. Any questions? Did that make any sense to you guys? Yeah. Yeah, so screenshot would be good. And if you do a screenshot, it might be easier not to do the pretty because it's more condensed. If I do this without the pretty, you know, it takes up a lot less room on the screen, a little bit less readable, but. So as I said, you can do it with my database. You can do the queries that I did. If you really want to learn a little bit more about it, I just wanted to show you how it works. You can do really sophisticated queries. There's a reason why they do big data off of this, you know. Although typically what they do is that sometimes they'll do it all off the NoSQL database. Sometimes they move all of the data into a SQL database to do the big data analysis. So you can either move the relational data into a NoSQL database, or you can move it into a, you know, go the other way when you're going to do big data, because they usually mix things and bring it all back together for the analysis. I was just playing this weekend. SQL Server 2007 does a pretty nice, 17 rather, does a pretty nice job with JSON. You can output the relational database, the data as JSON, and it will also take JSON in and you can shred it into rows and columns. You know, it's actually pretty neat. So you can move it between the two fairly easily. Now again, the non-relational data, but non-SQL databases are basically really good for social media kind of stuff. Yeah, I know. It's annoying. They're very good at handling types of data that doesn't fit neatly into columns and rows. And they're really good at capturing a lot of data really fast. All right, so I'm going to let that be it for this. I don't know if do you guys want me to post that code? It's already in Canvas. Yeah, I know. Thank you for closing that. Do you want me to post this? It's already in Canvas. Yeah, so there's a link here to setting up Mongo, which we'd already done, right? And then there's the different collections. Let me kind of zoom down here. Because it's already fairly big. So it has all of those, all the data, and then it has all the queries that we just ran minus the dot pretty. So I guess you could just turn this in if you really wanted to, but I think it would be good for you to run them if you haven't. Any questions? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah. So this is the last one. And this is the one that has if you go to so those are what nitpick, and I'll help you with them in a moment. Right. All right, so they're there. What I'm going to do on Wednesday is I'm going to talk a little bit about security. It's not part of any assignment. You can, but I'll just talk a little bit about security. We have, after this week, we have a week left, right? So I think what I'll do is I'll probably leave that pretty open just for people to finish things. So if you're all done, you can be all done, I guess. But if you're not, I'll help you catch up in that week. Does that make sense? So, questions? Yeah.
I want to find artists in 2 different genres.
So you could do an or, right? So kind of like that last one. So let's see if I can find the very, it's way up there. See how this, it's really hard to see $ or. It's in the thing.
Got it. Okay. That was that.
As I said, if you really want to do more advanced queries, the documentation is really good. The Mongo documentation.
And you need to put the triple dots?
No, it should do them.
Oh, it's just like an array. So
yeah, it's just an array.
Open the brackets, close the brackets, and put a comma.
And do a Yeah. So that, yeah, it is. Exactly. I probably grew up with more of a pop sensibility. Like an handle monsters in me.
Yeah, they're all right. They're all right. They're too mainstream. I like them. I mean, they're catchy. They're definitely.
They're
I like
yeah,
catchiness
I
about them,
like
and it's
the,
hard to-
there's a certain poetry to the way that they kind of almost have English art.
Right. I always liked that other Icelandic artist for that reason. And I can't think of her name now.
Bjork?
Yeah, I always appreciated that about her. Her
She's
accent. I like the
very-
accent.
Yeah,
Like I like people who sing in English, but they have like an accent when they sing.
I've always, I remember reading a comment recently, it's always odd that people, when you listen to them talk, they have really thick accents, but when they sing, they seem to have perfect English.
Right.
And you entered all the way. Alright, so let's do DE. So you can't just put like one job. Go ahead and do DB please. And you actually have to do like that. Really great. John was cool. You need to do like that. Yeah. There's that. So. Yeah, so let's do. I should stop. Let me stop the video and then I'll help you. So